Hello, Unity developers. Today I wanted to talk about a useful debugging tool that you can add to your Unity toolbox that will make your debugging life much, much easier. You've finished making some changes in the editor. It's time to test on device. So you build your game for mobile or VR or one of the consoles and start playtesting. And lo and behold, your playtesters hit some awkward bug. And now you're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I could just inspect what was going on, check out some properties on those game objects, take a look at logs, maybe make a few tweaks to see if the problem goes away. And that's where Proxima Inspector comes in. It's a simple component you can add to your game that lets you inspect exactly what's going on in your game, make any changes, view your logs, and more. Best of all, it's free. In this video, I want to show you how you can add Proxima Inspector to your project and go over some of the basic features. To get started, head over to the Asset Store and pick up the Proxima Runtime Inspector for free. Add it to your assets, and we can open it up in Unity. Later on, you can check out the Pro version, which adds a console and several other features. To add Proxima Inspector to the project, just click Add Component, find Proxima Inspector, add it in, give your app a name, My App. Proxima is going to host a web server on your device, and you need to give it a unique port for that device. And that's it. Make sure this status UI checkbox is checked. The connect UI checkbox is checked. Typically, you want to uncheck run on enable unless you're running on a device where you can't view the Proxima UI. So click play here. We'll test it in the editor before checking it out on device. It'll add this little Proxima button at the bottom right. Click on it and it shows the Proxima overlay. You can then set a password for this connection. So I'm just going to use 1234, hit start. And now it's telling you Proxima is hosting a web server at this address. And I can open it from the same desktop, or I can open it from any other device on my network. Let's click open in browser, and we can see that it popped up this Proxima Inspector web page, which is being served by your Unity application. Click connect and you can enter your password. And now we're connected and we can see all the data associated with our app. We can see the hierarchy here, just like you would see in Unity. It's got all the components and all of their values, as you might expect. It even loads in a subscene here, and you can see that game objects are segmented by scene. We can do simple things like move game objects around, just like you would expect in the Unity editor. You can change names. Editing properties here requires the Pro version of Proxima, but you can see the properties on the free version. You can see here I can change various properties such as the light. I can change the color, and we can go back to the editor and see that the color did indeed change on the box. I'll just put these side by side so I can demonstrate. These things change in real time. And if I change the position, you can see it change in Unity. I can change the rotation. Another neat feature that Proxima has is this ability to add buttons into the inspector. So this toggle spin button is going to start this component spinning, and you can see the rotation value updating in real time. I can then also change the speed of this component. So to add a button like this, all you have to do is go into your component. This is the spin component. Add your method that you want the button to invoke. So here I just created a simple toggle method, and add this Proxima button attribute with the name of what you want it to show up as in the inspector. That's it. Toggle spin shows up here. Another thing you can do is search for components. So if I want to filter to the banana game object, it's right there. You can create new game objects using the new button, and it'll create them under your currently selected game object. Give that a new name, banana child. I can duplicate that object by clicking the duplicate button, and it just creates a new instance. If you want to add components, you can type them into the box here. So here, let's say I want to add a box collider, and it adds a new box collider component. I can see that component in Unity. Under the banana game object, there's now this banana child, and it's got the box collider on it. If I change the values here, they change in Proxima, and so on. Another thing I want to demonstrate is the logs. So this log tester is just going to print out a log in Unity periodically. And we can see those show up on the log page in the Proxima Inspector. Each log also has the call stack like you would expect in Unity. You can filter to logs. So let's say I want logs with the word button in them. Those show up and it highlights the search term, both in the log list and in the call stack. You can filter to, I only want info logs, or I don't want info logs. I only or don't want warnings and errors, just like in the Unity editor. And I can also save logs here to a file. This is similar to the Unity editor's log file. And I can see all my logs here, but this is a bit awkward to read, especially if my call stacks are very long. And so what I can do is load that file back in and see the logs and filter them, and everything is exactly the same. If you don't have access to a device with Proxima running and you want to view the log, you can go to app.unityproxima.com, head over to the logs page, and load your log there and see exactly what happened. And finally, I wanted to go over the console feature of Proxima. You can see the list of all the possible commands by using the question mark. You see I've added a few custom commands that you can make yourself, and these are the built-in commands that you can use. The console uses a wildcard syntax, and so you can do cool things like find all the game objects with particular components. You can say, for example, I want to know the position of every game object. So you can say get star transform position, and you can see the transform position of every game object. You can use this also to set the position of every game object to whatever value you want. There's all sorts of different little capabilities here. You can move objects, rotate them, scale them, send messages if you want a particular method to be called. You can enumerate the components, create and destroy objects, and so on. These get and set properties are particularly powerful. They use reflection to find any property on the game object and attempt to get it or set it. So now let's take a look at what Proxima looks like on a real device. So Unity made this game, Boss Room, as a demonstration for multiplayer. I've deployed it to this iPad and I've added the Proxima component to the game. That's the only real change I've made. And now you can see a mirror of it using this little free software for AirPlay on my desktop. And now I'm going to connect to Proxima. First I'm going to add a password to Proxima and start it. And now you can see it's listening on this port. I can then navigate to that address. And you can see it's loaded Proxima, and now I can connect with my password. Now I can hide the Proxima UI, and I can start looking around in my game. The inspector is going to list every game object. This is highly efficient. It tries its best not to reduce your frame rate by only looking for about 10 game objects per frame. If I wanted to, say, start changing things, I can look at this UI canvas. It's got a few children in it. The title, I can start changing the color of the title to see what it would look like if it was different. I can change the scale of the title. I can move it around. Let's say I wanted to see what this tooltip would look like. I can enable it, and now I can see what it looks like, even though it shouldn't normally be enabled at this point in the game. I can then go in and see inside this tooltip, there's a Text Mesh Pro. I can edit the text on here to say, this is what a tooltip would look like. And I could then keep going, debugging, understanding my application, seeing what happens when I interact with it. If I were to click here on the iPad, this menu shows up. I can then inspect this menu. I would need to find it first. Is it this one? I can check by disabling. No. Is it this one? No. Is it part of the UI canvas? Yep, looks like it. But nice useful thing I like to do is move the camera around. So let's find the camera. Let's pick a character so we can take a look. Let's say I want to zoom in on him and really inspect something. I can kind of zoom in on his face. I can turn him around. Let's find the avatar. This guy. Let's turn him around. I want to see his backside. Okay, he looks pretty good. Turn him back around. Or reset this to 0. There we go. Now, let's say I want to take a look at the logs. Again, we can see the same logs that you have in Unity. Now, I don't need to download the log file. I can just see them straight here. I can save them. And then, of course, you have the same console. So let's say I wanted to find this choose your hero text at the top. Well, how would I do that? It'd be a little hard normally to search for text, but thanks to Proxima and the wildcard syntax, I can do it pretty easily. I can say, find me, get all of the game objects with a text mesh pro component, and find the text value of that component. And I could see all of the text in the game, basically. And we can see this last one says, choose your hero. This little number here indicates the ID number of that game object. So we can use it directly instead of the name of the game object. In case, you have cases like this where multiple game objects have the same name, using the ID makes it much easier. So now I can say I want to set the text here to, let's say, this is Proxima. And you can see how it's updated in the game. So which platforms does Proxima support? Basically all of them. Personally, I make sure that Windows, OS X, Android, iOS, and WebGL are all working correctly with every version of Proxima. The community also is testing other platforms. PlayStation and Switch seem to be working great. HoloLens works great. For Xbox, you need to configure some port to be open. This is the oldest Unity version supported by Proxima, and the newest is the latest LTS. Finally, I want to encourage you to join the Discord, where you can get support, you can talk with other community members, and you can learn more about this tool. So I hope that was informative. I look forward to seeing how you can use Proxima to debug your application.